Why don't we just rename the Invictus Games the me games? Everything's totally fine with our marriage, folks. Goodness me, lots to dig into here, but I think these two headlines probably sum it up best.
Did Meghan Markle just hijack the Invictus Games to boost her own image? While the world expected a celebration of our heroic veterans, we got red carpet kisses, photo ops and PDA overload. Veterans are speaking out, and they're not holding back.
He's mine. Meg trying to prove how happy she is with Harry and two-finger salute to Trump. And no problem here, Meghan Markle pulls out the stops to prove she's an adoring wife with breathless sighs, face holding, and intimate kisses. Indeed, as the weekend went on, as Meghan shared more and more content on her Instagram, as there were more and more desperate hugs of Harry, desperate kisses, and his face became more and more thunderous, especially when the cameras were off. I've never been more convinced that there is serious trouble in the Sussexes' relationship. But to talk about what has been an extraordinary weekend of the Invictus Games in Vancouver, I'm joined now by Brittany, editor of the Royal News Network. I mean, Brittany, never in royal history has there been such a desperate attempt to convince the public that all is well. What do you make of it?
Oh, Dan, I was just watching some of these pictures and I'm like comparing them to previous years, and she is so overdoing it. She's trying so incredibly hard. I mean, the PDA has always been there, but multiple kisses, like hanging on his arm and like cuddling up next to him. I don't think we've ever really seen her quite do that at an event. And honestly, the more she does that, the less I believe their relationship is in a good place, to be quite honest. And it looks sort of like she's, I'm sure, clinging and like overwhelming him and everything. And she must be stifling. She needs so much attention. And the sad thing is because she demands so much attention of him, the less he spends with the competitors, with their families, encouraging them, because he must focus on her at all times.
Today we're unpacking the scandal that's shaking the very foundation of the Invictus Games, a global event meant to honor wounded warriors, now at the center of a major controversy. Let's dive in. The Invictus Games were created by Prince Harry to honor the courage and resilience of injured service members.
And the body language is utterly extraordinary. I mean, it is a performance. It is almost performance art. And there's the little push. There's the little push, Brittany. And of course, this comes from Meghan, who said that she didn't want to take a senior role. She didn't want to distract from the competitors. Yeah, right. I mean, according to Taz posted on this, always acting, always aware of the camera. Harry looked genuinely emotional at what was playing. Meanwhile, the wife was posing. And Brittany, I have to ask about your post, because you're not happy about the PDAs, the public displays of affection. You write, kissing? Again? Be professional. Save it for private time. They're not on a date, they're working. It also doesn't sell the love when Harry's hand is loose at his side. What Meghan wants, Meghan gets. And Harry can't look more annoyed and over it sometimes. And we really did see that, didn't we, Brittany? Especially when she would be filming him, because obviously this is her new thing. I'm now an Instagram superstar, but you've got to see that he is deeply uncomfortable with it.
He is. He's never really liked the cameras. I mean, he went on and on and on about how he hated the media. And when royals are doing engagements, they are professionals. They're supposed to be working. So if you want to do a bunch of PDA, do it on your private time. Nobody really cares. But when you are on an engagement and you're there and you're supposed to be interacting with people, if it's really like date-like, because that's how they treat it and they're hanging all over each other, then this means the people they're actually supposed to be helping and supporting sort of get lost in the process, because they have this dynamic going on that's not what's supposed to be there at this particular time. I mean, all of us know that if you are in a professional environment, you keep some of your PDA, a little bit on the more subtle side, if any, because you are professional, but they're not professional. They treat every single royal engagement as if it's a date, and it just gets a little ridiculous after a while. And you feel like he needs to kiss her. Like that's part of the game is that, and the performance is that he must kiss her at that particular moment.
Well, he certainly doesn't want to, and we'll come to some footage in just a moment, actually, which shows his expressions when he didn't think the cameras were on. And I think that's particularly telling, Brittany, because, of course, when he's in the stadium, he knows all eyes are on him. There were some truths revealed as well. I know you've been on this one for some time, but have a listen to Chris Martin, the lead singer of Coldplay, during the Invictus Games opening ceremony.
We'd like to say thank you, of course, to Prince Harry. When he called me, he said, I've called every other musician in the world. They all said they're not available, so I have to call you. And, and I said, Your Royal Holiness, I'm honored. But thank you, Harry, for being such an inspiring leader and kind and sweet man. And I hope you have the most wonderful games of all. And it's a pleasure to be here. Happy Invictus time. All right, this is called Viva La Vida, and we'll go.
And I mean, Brittany, you saw Meghan, the exaggerated, no. And it's almost like, no, Chris, you're admitting what we all know, that Harry had to beg every A-lister. He couldn't even get Coldplay, Brittany. He just got the lead singer. Chris Martin never performed solo.
But this year, it felt more like a Meghan Markle fashion runway. From designer outfits to choreographed kisses, it was clear the spotlight wasn't on the veterans. Reports say Meghan arrived fashionably late, took centre stage during key moments, and made every effort to keep the cameras on her.
I mean, that's so bad. And he called him His Holiness instead of His Royal Highness is really hysterical. But it just goes to show, too, when you hear Chris Martin talking about it, is he talking about the competitors, really? No, he's just talking about Harry. And really, although Harry is the figurehead of these games, it has become the Harry and Meghan games. And the competitors are getting completely lost in the process because there was some Canadian, I think, military guy or something that was saying, oh, there's going to be 40,000 people in that stadium to cheer, these veterans on. And then it's like, well, where are they in the individual events? Because in some, it looked like they could barely scrounge together 100 people. And I feel like it's completely disingenuous to the veterans to claim that there's all these people coming to see them when it really was about the musical performance. But it is hysterical that I'm sure they did call a lot of people, and a lot of people turned them down because Harry and Meghan are just toxic. Nobody really wants to associate with them unless sort of absolutely necessary or they're desperate for a bit of good free press. I mean, Katy Perry maybe could use that. Nelly Furtado, who's she hasn't really been popular in 20 plus years. So it seems like they're really sort of scrounging to try to find somebody who can come up there and deal with potentially the negative backlash of being associated with Harry and Meghan.
Do you know what? It's interesting you speak about the Nelly Furtado situation because I love Nelly Furtado, but as you said, 20 years ago, and you were absolutely scathing, Brittany, about one of Meghan's many Instagram stories. This one in particular of Nelly Furtado and Meghan, and of course the cameo from Harry, which we're meant to believe, although very obviously is just impromptu. And you found this embarrassing, but very much adding to this growing feeling that Meghan has effectively just accepted now that she's back to the D-list.
Yes, she is always been D-list. I mean, this is sort of D-list actor type behavior and sort of desperate for attention. And so I saw the video and I'm like, this is so embarrassing. And there's an interesting poll, I think it was from the Telegraph, talking about how most people now do not see Harry really as royal. But every time Harry and Meghan claim royal titles, they are associating themselves technically with what you would consider the royal brand. And so to pull sort of stunts like this, where they're trying to be, I mean, they're women in their, I think, 40s probably. I mean, I'm not too far away in age from them, but it's like it looks like they're trying to be 20, and that's not always a great look for people. But royals act with a sense of decorum. And every time Harry and Meghan act sort of like that D-lister desperate for attention status, I think to some people, because not everybody follows royals as closely, they think that is what royals do. And it's simply not. Royals act with a level of respect. They act with a level of, yes, we can have fun, but we also are representing something greater than ourselves, and it's not just all about us. So that was just completely embarrassing. I can't believe she did that, but it's not a surprise either. You know, once a D-lister, sort of always a D-lister.
Well, of course.
She just cannot get out of that mindset.
Veterans and spectators alike noticed, and many weren't impressed. Despite promises of packed stadiums and international attention, many of the events were nearly empty. So how did it look so full on camera? Because it was staged. Plain and simple, just like the rest of this orchestrated PR show.
But the shocking thing is, Brittany, and let's just be honest about it, Meghan Markle has single-handedly destroyed the Invictus Games, because these games used to be about the competitors who have gone through incredible feats of human spirit to get where they are. These games used to be a platform for the royal family, where we'd see Charles and Camilla and William and Catherine. But the problem is now they are cheap and tacky, and it's really horrible to say, but that is the influence of Meghan Markle. Do you think she has single-handedly destroyed Invictus?
I think very much her association with Harry has definitely dragged down the games completely. And it really has been a huge distraction to him. I was there at the 2016 games in Orlando. It was very cool. I felt like things were pretty packed in each of the individual events that I attended. And when it comes to her, like, having to be there so much and having so much of his attention on her has completely distracted from what the games are. And because of her fashion shows and everything and her behavior, she becomes a huge factor in the publicity for the games. But the thing is, as we've seen in the stands for the individual events, the publicity surrounding them does not equate to actually people going to these individual events. And so the stands are empty. So is the whole thing is just sort of is becoming just sort of a shell of its former self. We don't know any of the athletes. We don't know what they stand for. We don't know why they're there. We know nothing about these athletes because they've allowed Harry and Meghan to take over the game so much. And I think the leaders of the games are too scared to try and have the games or try to make the game successful without Harry. And Harry always has to be with her. And so they're just in this situation where I don't think it's winnable unless they get Harry out of the picture, to be quite honest. I think the games can be successful. I think they need to scale them down. I think they overdid it with this massive stadium for the opening and closing ceremonies. But I think there is an audience for it, but I think it's smaller than what Harry is trying to be, because it seems like Invictus is just there to fuel his ego rather than it is to actually help people, because we don't know any of these competitors.
And I mean, Brittany, look, there are issues with the crowd as well. As Royally Sage pointed out, they made everyone sit in certain sections, so it looks like a full-on crowd on camera. And in fact, let's look at this from a macro level. All of the Invictus now is simply a photo opportunity for Meghan. And of course, we saw the big relaunch of her Instagram, Meghan back to the TIG style, and it's had very mixed impact. So let's have a look at her first volley of posts.
The Invictus Games were meant to uplift the wounded warriors who've given everything, but this year many feel it was hijacked by Hollywood theatrics. Veterans were sidelined, the spotlight was stolen, and the public isn't buying the act.
I don't know all your names, but I really, really want to wish you a very happy Invictus Games. Goodbye.
Today, the Vancouver Canucks and Canucks Sports and Entertainment opens its arms to proudly welcome the most inspirational athletes from around the world here to participate in the 2025 Invictus Games. And now, the founder of the Invictus Games Foundation.
So, I mean, she is all over it, Brittany, including exploiting young children who don't know any better for internet positivity. Watch.
Good to see you guys too. Different ways? They put one night there, one night there. Oh my God. One time.
Enormous, wasn't it? Do any of you have any questions for this week before you get started? It's going to be a big one. There's so much exciting stuff to see and do.
And Brittany, this is all meant to remind us of cheeky, chappy Harry, the guy who used to be the most popular member of the royal family. But you can just tell he's not in that place. The whole setup of that appearance with the young kids was very odd. Harry's on the floor, Meghan's on the raised podium, trying to feign empathy, something she really struggles with. And it just doesn't work, no matter how much she tries to present this image to the world.
Oh, I agree, Dan, especially comparing her to Catherine, the Princess of Wales, because she was just at the National Portrait Gallery last week and there was this precious video. This girl is just clinging to Catherine's hand. And then another one just sort of leans back because she knows Catherine's there and just is like putting all her body weight on Catherine. It's such natural interactions. And then you compare it to Meghan, who is grabbing a child to move him closer to her for the picture. And I understand maybe the parent wanted that to happen and kids can sometimes not follow what you want them to do or whatever. But Catherine's was very natural, whereas Meghan seems so forced. And then honestly, trying to make her seem very approachable with kids is probably not the best way to go. I thought overall, most of that interaction was pretty awkward. I don't think children are necessarily, the best way to portray her or that she's that close to kids, really, to be quite honest.
No, she struggles a lot
I
with
just
children.
thought it was so awkward.
She struggles a lot with children. She has no natural bond with them. And we know even with her own children, they spend the vast majority of the time being looked after by staff. But it's not just children, actually, where Meghan struggles to deal with social cues, Brittany, because there was also this terrible moment where she moved a member of Team Canada's wheelchair without permission, which is just not the done thing. Lots and lots of people saying this was just so rude, so disrespectful. And then you get in this exact same exchange, Meghan's, I would describe it as false empathy. And just look at this video, Brittany, because it's typical Meghan, lots of hand contact, but she knows she's being filmed.
What do you think? Was Meghan just being supportive? Or did she turn a noble cause into a personal photo op? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's talk about it.